Hi, this is Dr. Alana James, and today we're talking about mentoring mind maps. But as you'll see, as it continues, this workshop actually allows you to look at the idea of support from many angles. Mentoring is one of those angles. So it's to ensure that you figure out how to get the help you need. And sometimes mentoring can come, we can be our own best mentor as well. So we have a WooClap address for this. You can, at any time you have a question, you can go to wooclap.com/grad support, and that will allow us to pick up questions. And then you can use the chat to talk to each other, to make comments, to give each other kinds of support that you, for instance, I may say something and you may have a great tool for that something. Everybody should share that. Go ahead and put all those things in the chat. It makes it easier for everyone. And I'm just opening up the WooClap for Grab support right now just to ensure, see if we have any questions. No questions have come in yet. Okay, so what are we going to do today? We're going to talk about your personal support parameters, the aspects of your life. We're going to go through a workshop. You'll be writing on your piece of paper. Hopefully you'll be thinking in new ways and come out at the end with a plan to take you from here to the next place. And then we'll answer questions and talk about what else you might want to look at. So let's start. Step 1, get out a piece of paper and put you in the middle of it. Me is what I put. Could be your name, could be a picture, whatever you want, but you're in the center of our discussion today. Now then, along the edge, you might want to put some of these words because you're going to want to consider them later. So when I ran through the literature on mentoring and just a little bit of history, this topic came up at a dean's conference and as something that students on many campuses had found useful, and that they were hoping everybody was going to get in at uncertain times where perhaps our regular support systems have gone a little wobbly. So the whole idea of a mentoring map, several deans, University of Tennessee at Knoxville was the one that comes to mind, had done some work into. So I looked at their work and I went out to the literature and I looked at what research says about mentoring. And I came up with this list of things that people are looking for. So you may or may not have these ideas about mentoring in your head, but they can be a reciprocal relationship, something that's between you and the other person. It's a one-on-one relationship usually, although it can be one-on group. And it could be reciprocal, it could be collaborative. You could be working together and one is a more senior partner helping others. Generally, it has something to do with guidance towards full potential, but the characteristics of what is determining what is full potential differ widely. Frequently, part of that guidance towards full potential is help in building or transferring skills and knowledge. However, building skills frequently comes more under the coaching hat, and the definitions generally say coaching and mentoring kind of overlap in some of the research, but generally coaching is seen as a short-term something to get us where we want to go. mentoring, often taking us places we didn't know we wanted to go, but they, meaning the more senior partner, had ideas that would help us grow that we might not have even considered. Although, of course, sometimes that comes under coaching too. So you can see that they have some overlap. Interesting that somebody said that some of the best ones support experimentation. Somebody who's a role model, somebody who has active listening, somebody who can help you network are frequently part of it. Support through hard times might be more on the coaching side. But so what I want you to do now is to look at this list. You can read the rest of it, and I'll give it up for a minute and write down the ones that you would want, 4 or 5, that you are your top 4 or 5. Do you like them to tell you stories more than instruct, for instance? Are you looking for tactical problem solving? And I suspect that which ones of those you'll come back to may have to do with some of our later steps. So just the ones you write down now are not the only ones that you'll ever consider. And by the way, these slides are up in the handouts. So if you want to go back to any previous slide later on, you can. So I'll give that just a minute. Few people have joined us recently, and I just need to make sure you know that this is a workshop. And so I'm going to have pauses in it so that you can think for a minute on your own and write down your own, build your own map. And also, if you are thinking of something that you would look for that isn't on that list, I'd love to see you put that in the chat. And everybody might add it. We'll give it another half a minute. Okay. Now, you've got yourself in the center. We're beginning to build out the mentoring map, and in circles around your center, but fairly big because you may need to attach other things to them. Put the various sections of your life that may have issues, may not have issues, but all sections of our life need some kind of support, don't they? Not all of them need a mentor, but all of them need something. And we're trying to build a support system that will help you go the distance. So sometimes things from one side will play out in the other. So it's useful right now if you put in 5 or 6 circles, and they probably include your family. They probably include this degree that you're part of. They may include a spiritual life or relationship. You get the idea. Your physical health, including exercise. But think about the big ones. So as an example, think about physical health, because exercise would be one. There might be others. So we'll kind of play those out. They might include these things. Anything that has to do with research and writing probably is a subtopic to graduation. Getting published may be the same thing. It may be part of launching a career, getting your next job, helping you get unstuck from whatever may be having you feel a little stuck right now. Personal confidence, growing in personal confidence and validation. So you can put in here mental health issues, mental emotional health, and then confidence might be one of them. Family, again, could be health, and caregiving if you are responsible for children or elderly parents or dogs and cats for that matter. So flesh out your life is what I'm saying, in circles, around the me circle, little lines in between them. And then, and I'll give this a minute, some of those circles will have other things off of them. For instance, graduation might have finishing the dissertation, it might have getting published, it might have improved writing skills, a number of things. Health might, as you can see, family, several things. So I'll give this a minute, and you want to flesh out the subtopics that go with the big circles. No trouble, Jennifer. What we've done so far is you've taken a piece of paper and you've put yourself in the middle, and then in circles around yourself, you've put the issues of the different things in your life. Oh, you were waiting for over 30 minutes. You mean Big Marker didn't let you in? That's horrible, because we started at 3:30. So my time, Irish time. So apologies for that if there was a technology error. So you're putting your big issues in circles, Jennifer, and then subtopics out to the side. So for instance, graduation might have several subtopics to it, and that'll build your basic map. Okay. Raise your hand if you're in the room. There's a hand in the chat box. And raise your hand if you need just a bit more time. And Patricia, just to catch you up, it's a piece, you're in the center, and then the issues in your life, although not to make you feel stressed, if you want to focus on one, you can always come back and do the others later. And then off of those, the subtopics. So, for instance, family life might have several subtopics. Graduation might have several subtopics. And the slides are in the handouts, so you can pull them down and you can have them for a reference if you need to go back at any time. I don't see any hands going up, so we'll move on. All right, so now that you've got a thought pattern about the different aspects of your life, because remember, we're building not just a relationship with a mentor to get us to do this one thing, which we can certainly flesh out your conversations about that, but we are also building a support system that will help you feel supported for your graduate career and off and beyond. I think it's a really useful set of ideas. So now we need to talk about what's supported to you that may be different than what would be supportive to me. So just to think about these things. Mentor versus coach, I'll start there. A mentor is a one-on-one relationship where you're kind of in their hands and they're growing you, sort of. They're They're helping propel it. It may be reciprocal, but it also may not be. Coach, you're driving it. It's more of a short period of time. You're with them because you want to do a certain thing. They're helping you. So you're driving it. Mentoring, maybe they're driving it. That's just word usage, but it's for you to figure out which along that continuum, what would be useful to you. Some of us are more comfortable being passive or more on the passive side than others. Also, efficiency in today's world, one-on-one is hard to get. One-on-group might be possible. Would that work for you? Similar to you, same gender, same ethnicity, same culture, same language, or doesn't matter. You're comfortable. In fact, maybe you even want different because different brings you new ideas. Are the issues you're facing, are they ethical issues for you? And therefore, the people who you're discussing will need to have a similar ethical path. You might not want to work with somebody who felt very differently on key issues of life. And then if we look at the other side, what kinds of things support the relationship? Are you okay working remotely, or do you need to be in physical contact? Does the culture of the person, are you tired of getting across cultural divides and you just as soon talk to somebody who's your culture too? That's important. Can you work at all kinds of days? Do you work and therefore this relationship needs to go on weekends or nights or mornings, or is there a time? Are you a full-time student, and how are you going to pack in a relationship around the edges? This is kind of the nuts and bolts of how you need to make sure that this relationship supports you. Some of these things you can be flexible on, others you won't be able to be flexible on. So get some idea about which ones you don't have flexibility. And you're making a kind of a list off to one side of the ideals that you're looking for. So add these kinds of concepts to those ideals. And then, so you need to then look at this bigger list, the whole of your circles and their subtopics. And you might want to star ones where you would like a coach for short term or a mentor for long term, and it needs to be one-to-one. Or you might want to put a little G by anywhere you really look. If you could find a group who were focused on that, it would be really good. Because there'd be things in the group you'd learn from, and you wouldn't have to have the focus on you all the time. Also, remote gives you much bigger options in today's world, doesn't it? Or if it needs to be face-to-face in person, then you should make a note of that too. So I'll give you another minute, and if you could just look at your list and notate these things. So also, do you need this to be someone who has a doctoral degree in it? For instance, if it's anything medical, then probably yes. Not always, could be something else. But that's what I'm getting at, is look one by one at your subtopics and then make little notes about the qualities that work for you in those areas. And once again, I'll start the timer. Now, not everything needs to be looked at right now, but I would imagine there's probably one that you can drill into. Or at least in my experience for mine, there was one I could drill into. And I could say, if I could find, bringing up these ideas, if I could find an online remote group that worked with that issue, it would be worth my time going to look for it. If I could find a person on my campus, say, if I'm speaking for you, who could help me figure out da 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 da, it's worth my time to go do that. So choose one. Choose one or two for this that that kind of jump off. Probably most of us have some of these areas okay. Hopefully we have most of these areas okay. And we have one or two always that are causing the tension in our lives that would make us come to a conversation like this one. So looking at the areas of tension, looking at getting a sense of, am I looking for one-to-one or am I looking for a one-to-group? Let me invite you to go to, let me put it in here. Let me invite you to go to the www.wooclap. The advantage to putting a question up in WooClap is that you're completely anonymous. And I find that it allows for people to, to ask questions that they might not want to have their name put on. And they'll come in and other people can see them and you can vote them up as well. In most cases, I think you can. So if you have an idea of, actually there was one here. So I would be looking on my map, I would be looking for a online support group or group of conversations of business people who were trying to expand globally. That would be an interesting conversation for me. That would be a conversation that would end up being a mentoring situation for me. If you have some ideas about what might be a mentoring situation for you, put them up in WooClap. The group think here might be able to help you find or know about something that you're looking for. Or if you're having a question, put that up there too. Okay, so we're mapping it. I did go search on the web, of course, for mapping. So if you want to have something that's digital and you want to play with it, in your handouts, there's that link. And it's a mentoring map already partially filled in that you can change. And I'm pretty sure it's free. I like pencil and paper for these kind of exercises. Okay, so now the next step is to write down roles that might help. So I'll just use mine as an example again. If I'm looking for a support group that are business people who are looking to be global, the kinds of people who do that are trainers who or entrepreneurial groups, so I would make a list of the roles people might have, the keywords. It's almost like figuring out what keywords you're going to search on, who might have the kind of help you're looking for, or who you might be able to reach out to, say via LinkedIn, and say, if you can, I'm looking for this. Do you have any ideas? And then the other thing, if you have an idea of what question you would like to have, if you can take the feeling of this is support I want, and I could put it into a question, like I might say, How do I expand this business globally? What's the best way in a pandemic when we can't see each other to reach out to other university people globally? And I might want to hear ideas about that. So those are the thoughts. And again, I'll give us all a minute so we can just think about our questions. And thanks, people are beginning to put in woo claps, so we'll get to that in a minute. That's very good. Okay, here we go. Okay, once again, if you want a bit more time, just plop your hand up. It's in the chat box. And if I don't see hands go up, I'll figure, it's always, as a facilitator, it's always hard when you're in the room and you can see people writing or not writing. So here we get to use the little hand in the chat box. But no hands going up, so I think we're ready to move on. Going once, going twice. Okay, don't think. All right, so you have something now. I was making this up. So just to say hello to the newest person who just joined us. And the slides, this is being recorded, so you can go back. This is a workshop. So people have been building something that looks sort of like this slide. We're having a discussion about it. And the slides are there for you. So just settle in, and you can ask questions later on WooClap. I'm happy to answer them. So you have something that looks like this. You're in the middle, and you have issues or parts of your life around the outside. Some of those parts may have a long-term, there may be a problem you're trying to solve. There may be a short-term problem you're trying to solve. There may be a network, or you may want to grow your network, kind of like I do, I guess. That might be a broad thing. You might want skills. You might want topical knowledge. I don't know how you set up yours. And then we came up with roles or people and questions you would want to ask. And you probably don't have them all the way around. But this leads us to the question of, what does it take to be our own mentor? To have kind of our, I'm going to use the word inner guidance system, directing us along a path. And how do we get enough feeling of real support from that? I think this is my hypothesis, and you can tell me if it's true for you or not. I'm happy for it not to be. But in my life, my inner guidance is pretty good, but sometimes my own self-confidence, or feeling unsure because I'm on totally new or uncertain ground, makes it hard for me to trust my inner guidance. And so those are the times I find myself reaching out for something. Or in a couple of cases, I was up against a block I couldn't see past, and I needed somebody to help give me a few new ways past this block. So what does it take for more of us for our own self to guide ourselves best, and then, or not, or when? There's no right or wrong here. We can use them all. But I think we should look at this list that we've been developing with the question of whether an outside person really is what I'm looking for, or a mix, a little outside, a little inside, a little reading, a little lit, whatever. So this last step is to write down keywords or website searches that can help you find web resources for this. So once again, using my example, I'm looking for a support group, online support group, to expand globally. And keyword might be global business, might be entrepreneurs, global business, might be, so that's the exercise now, is to think about a keyword search. And also to think about, is this an issue that requires you to have more discipline around the issue than you do now? And I'll use writing a dissertation as an example here, because one of the things I hear a lot is, how do I make myself right? So that's a discipline issue, as is exercise, as is weight loss, as is a number of things in our lives. And we know it. We know when it's a discipline issue. So two things in this step: drill into the one you really would make your heart sing if you could get it pinned, and decide to what extent it might be a discipline issue. And if it is a discipline issue, is there a buddy in your life who can help you with that? And welcome. I see that we've been joined by a number of people. So this happens online. Just real quick, mind map, you in the center, issues in your life around the outside, subtopics around those issues. So for instance, if it's graduate, it might have a subtopic of writing better. It might have a subtopic of number of things. We started with a conversation about the qualities we look for in one-to-one relationships. Those are in the slides. And the second conversation was about, use the word conversation, and I'm the only one talking. That's sort of funny. Hopefully it felt like a conversation to you. The topical question was then, what about your life puts certain parameters on the relationships you look for? And do these relationships need to be live? Can they be on the web, one-on-one, one-on-group? Really, like, let's broaden our idea of what support can look like and where we might find it. And then let's use the web to our advantage. Let's think about the keywords and think about how much is this an issue I need to deal with me? And that's a discipline issue. So that's where we are. And excuse me for the people who were writing that I talked over you. And we have some notes in the chat that I'll just bring up without putting people's names on them. Switch to a mind map software, Xmind. Oh, that's the reason I don't use mind map software, because I find it really hard to edit. So that's excellent. Xmind. I'll just actually even type it up. If that's a good lead, that's wonderful, because I find them kind of clunky. I resort to paper and pencil. And high degree of self-awareness is part of these. And sometimes we have a friend that we can talk to in real feelings. So to what extent is your need on this map for a real touch base with another human being. Somebody who you can just absolutely know is not going to be judgmental about what you say, and is going to hear you out, and it's just such a great human need. So if that's of interest, we can talk more about that as well. Okay, so here we are. Step 5 is done. We now look kind of like this. And this is if we had built it all out. If you go back now to the ideas of what we want and need, or what can be done by you and what requires another person, and some of these are well handled, really. Some of these don't need a lot of attention, but you're probably zeroing in on one kind of something you're looking for. And I'll just play off of this idea of, since it came up in the class, about being able to be heard. Let's just call it that. I want to be heard. I want a place where I can speak my truth and it can be heard. The most secure place for that is a therapeutic relationship, because they are under, if you don't have a friend that you feel that way of, they are under legal context to keep it to themselves. So that's an option, and it's not an option that you just go right in and you build a relationship, but you go have a few conversations. A lot of people will give you a free hour on the web or whatever, and you find somebody who feels like a good mix, and then you delve into the parts that are troubling in life that aren't being heard. So I just want to own the fact that that could be part of this. Yeah. So we have some Woo cups that have come in. We have a map filled out. What I found, you may or may not found it, but when I worked on mine last night, I found that one thing on one side really related, let's see if I can show it, to another thing on another side. So you might find relationships there too. There might be a person who is, I'm just going to make this up, related to your family life, who also you could tap for something else on this list. So hopefully, this is a sheet to have around, to put up above your computer screen and to think about a little bit. This is not a come to a workshop and have the answer right away today, but this is a let's dig into what kind of relationships we need in our life to fully support us, because it is not like we're going to find one person and that one person rarely, so rarely it doesn't even begin to hit the significance chart. Does one person carry us very far? We carry us very far, and we have help along the way. And this kind of thing can help us get that help. Okay, we're going to come to the questions, and I just have to tell you, because it's our business, there's all kinds of support. Towards graduation is our business, so there's all kinds of support here. If you haven't attended the Mondays and you are a researcher, Mondays are turning out to be a very dynamic conversation. You can go and look at what the previous ones have looked like to see if it's for you, but it started off with me sharing my research and then lots of questions afterwards. If you are finished close to the end and you're a researcher, you have your data, there's a community just for you, and it meets tomorrow, same time. Or no, 5 o'clock my time. So an hour and a half later than this one. Thriving in the Face of Uncertainty was a webinar I did really early on in the year. So a lot of people didn't catch it because they weren't quite up on the system. So it's replaying on Thursday. And next week, we're talking about job preparation. This is actually part of a 3-parter we talked about getting into networks, and then we had Erica come and talk about her reality trying to find an academic job over the past year as a finished PhD. And now we're talking about 21st century scholarship and entrepreneurship, because the world is changing and how we will earn our living changes with it. There are communities, if you go to your PD education site. So part of this conversation might be nesting in one of these. And what this is this is a sign-up sheet, and you give us your email address, and we then reach out. I think the people on these email addresses will start getting an email about once a month now, where we'll make suggestions. People can come back, and we have open office hours for each of these groups, and so people can come together and meet. And then also some of the webinars we do go with these groups. So if you're interested in these things, it's a good way to stay in touch with it. And that's under PD Education Resources Opt-ins. Okay, so let's go back and screen share. Bear with me a minute while I turn it on. And this is what we've got so far going in WooClap. I start from the bottom. It's interesting because I think somebody, if one of you put this in, then we have the beginning of an online support group.
Your screen sharing has been disconnected.
Because the bottom one is online support group trying to expand globally. So that sounded like it was me. I don't know if it was someone else, not just putting my words up for me, what kind of support group, or maybe you have an online support group and you're trying to expand globally, but there may be two people as a beginning to start looking at options together. So if this is a real topic, I would say please reach out to me. We might have something where we could meet on a Zoom call. We could think of ideas. We could come back a week later. We could see how it went. I find that having the accountability of a group helps me move forward. And how to reach out and make it work in a global environment is tough. And it doesn't need to be that we're all reaching out the same thing, but we can share stories about how we reached out and whether or not it worked, and what we're learning and what we're finding on the web and what research is telling us. So many minds are better than one. One of my circles was professional growth. Oh yeah, that's very good. Professional growth is a great circle for most of us all the time. I'll be interested in finding a remote small group of folks who also wanted to figure out what next stop for them too. I'd like the group to be at least 1 or 2 steps removed from my immediate circle, meaning I would probably not join such a group if it existed in my university. Yes, I understand that. It is, there is something wonderful about coming to a group like this anonymously, because we're not, or it doesn't. So, what next groups? You might look into Mastermind. And if you look up Mastermind groups, they're phenomenally good ones are phenomenally good. And if they don't gel, they don't gel. So you could also, if you had a what next group here, if you wanted Doctoral Net to support you, or PD Education to support you with this, if there were other people who were interested in this, I would say go to grad support. Sign up for the online community that is grad support, and I'll make this a to-do actually. I will send an email to them by the end of the month, everybody that signed up for grad support, saying that this came up, a what next group, I like the name of it. And I'll see whether people want to come. Because one thing we can offer, if you think that within the wider educational community there's some interest, I can set up meetings. That's easy enough. I don't even have to come. I can just set up meetings and send out things and or whatever. So it's totally within our residenza to support you in these ways. And I'm happy to take a group of emails who've said they were interested in that kind of thing and put out some options and see what happens. So I'll put on the next word. So the grad support may have a what next group happen. Anybody have any other ideas for what next that you've had in the past that's been useful to you? And then the last one is one of my circles was about dissertating. I need discipline and buddy time. And one super helpful way I found is joining writing retreats, spirit sprints, accountability sessions. Do we have a recurring writing session? No, but it has been suggested, and I am happy to do that. I'm happy to do that. And there is an academic writing support is one of the, and I think what you're looking for is more academic writing and not so much research design. We have had one academic writing open office hour. So I can go to, in terms of these two ideas, I can write to the people who've attended open office hours for these two, and or who have signed up for the group, and I can just say, these are suggested, and we're happy to facilitate. We've also, just so you all know, Monday 15-minute research boosts, we had a request that they continue through December and January. For many of you who are in the United States, it's go home for Thanksgiving and then you don't go back to university for a couple of months. And you may want to have some of this work that you're doing have more support like that, especially in a different non-campus environment. So we will definitely have the 15 minutes on Mondays, 5 o'clock Irish time. And we could also have a reoccurring writing session and a what next group. Both of those probably every couple of weeks kind of thing. Or you could decide, people in the group could decide what they wanted, and I would set up the meetings to go with those decisions. So I hadn't expected that, but we're happy to help. Now I want this to be as useful a session for all of you as it possibly can be. And we have 10 more minutes. So you'll, in the chat, I'll read through the chat, have to tell me what would make it useful to you. And if you feel like, okay, yeah, I got what she had to say, and you want to say goodbye, that is fine as well. But let me look at the chat. An entrepreneurship webinar. Yeah, oh, very good. Well, that's next week. Thank you for saying that you're looking forward to it. As an academic who went down that route unexpectedly, I am happy to offer my experience with it, and then we'll look at what Erica had to say as well. And I hope it's useful to you. I know quite a bit about entrepreneurship I didn't know 6 years ago, that's for sure. We want you to come and listen to us in groups. I'm not sure what that was in reference to, but I'm usually happy to come and listen to students. Wi-Fi off time for writing. That's a great discipline. Wi-Fi off time when it comes to writing. Unless you're in a synchronous writing group where everybody has the room open and everybody is writing away, And you can't get out of the seat because they'll see you get up. So that's another way with Wi-Fi to have writing. I promise to not send the message for a week, Jennifer. I will send the message after you have gone to sign up. You might as well just go. All right, very good. Okay, so I'm hearing there's a few people in the room who think these two groups are a good idea. We'll go forward with them and see what happens. And you know what? Even two people who want something can make it happen. Like I would, if there is one person who wants to expand whatever they are doing globally, I am happy to be part of that group. Good, good. And should you want professional help, the nice thing about this world that is becoming more and more remote all the time is that you can get part-time professional help by going on LinkedIn and looking for people that you might want to talk to and asking, do you ever consult? Do you have an hourly rate for a consultant? I'd kind of like to ask you some questions. All those things are much more possible now than they ever have been. So, all right. Anything else? Or are is today good? It seems like from this group, from the people who talked in this group, and nobody else is coming in on grab support. So what I'm feeling is that there is a desire for more community around the things that you put on this. And some of you will have that community in your own lives, and brilliant. And if you don't have that community in your own life, then you'll go look for it. And if that community has anything at all to do with any of the 10 topics we have, you are always welcome to write to Alana at Doctoralnet and tell me what you're looking for. And it is part of our job to help you see if you can get it. So I'm happy to be in conversation. Never worry about typos with me. I don't even see them. As some of you know, if you've looked at my slides. Okay. Anything else, you guys? Or is it a good day for you? I hope it's been a good day. I hope you put this on the wall. I hope you meditate on what you need. I hope this has given you going out to figure it out. And if there are other conversations that we can have about how you get the stuff done, those will be in the 15-minute chats on Mondays after I finish discussing what I was going with on my research. I'm going to start moving into the organization. How do you keep it all together? What those kind of questions keep coming up. So I thought I'd drill into what has worked for me. Question above. Thank you, Erica. Everybody has to say, tell me when I miss questions. Oh, can I advise you on the cost of editing through pd.ed? Okay, so yes, we do have 2 now PhD editors who will work with editing help. They are $45 US an hour. And they're more than happy to take your work. What we recommend is that you go through me. I'll get it all set up because I need to know what your methodology is, and there's some things that will make one or the other better or not. And then I recommend you pay for an hour. You send them something. They look at it for half an hour. They talk to you for half an hour about what they found and where you can take it, and also where they might take it if you want someone else to take it. So, pay $45 and see if it works is kind of our attitude towards it. It isn't our main business, but it is a business that people need. And I happen to have a couple of part-time staff members who are willing and And I feel fully able to do a good job to help you. Okay. Am I missing anything else? What does it equate to page? See, page is just not, somebody's writing, page is just ridiculous. If you want to think about, if you are looking for editing and you go out there and you see how people do stuff, if you are getting a low cost or a low cost per page kind of thing, you are getting primarily a machine reader with somebody who, quote unquote, has a degree, and they are paid like $7 an hour, or they're ridiculous what these people pay. So they're flying through your stuff. And some of them are probably very good at flying through the stuff. I'm not saying that all of it's awful, but a good editor knows a continuum of people from one to another and says, okay, this person is about here. And this person could really use to, on their own, do this, this, and this, and this, and that would get a lot better. And then they move on. Or if it's the end of the game and you just want somebody to do every little APA thing and you really need somebody who's willing to read it once through, make suggestions, sleep on it, read it completely again, look at the suggestions, analyze whether you like it or not, put it all together. I don't want anybody editing my stuff who isn't giving it full attention. And full attention takes a lot of time, and some people are better writers than others. So just my opinion, don't trust somebody who wants to give you a blanket, because your writing will be different from somebody else's. Now you got a rant out of me, didn't you? I hope you're all doing really well. I hope your graduate work is doing well, and keep in touch. We will be here through December and January. We will try to help you bridge the gaps you may feel over this next season, and in many, many ways. So let us know. So really worried about APA, but more continuity and keeping your thoughts together. Yeah, Erica, my opinion, I've read enough of your writing that I think you would be easier to edit than not. And APA, don't worry about it. As long as have somebody know APA tell you what you're doing wrong, but don't worry about it getting edited for APA until you are at the end game. You have to learn APA. You have to do APA well as you go. And then at the end game, it gets edited. Because in between, there are so many ups and downs. Why pay for it? Why pay for any editing mid-range? Pay for guidance mid-range. And then pay for editing when it's end game. That's my suggestion. Are you going to have a link for the recording of this session? Absolutely. It will come to you because you registered. It takes sometimes today, by my morning tomorrow, it will be published. And I will hit the publish button, and then you will automatically get a recording. And the slides. Don't forget to take the slides from the handouts. They are up there for you. Good. Bye, everybody. I'm turning off the recording. I hope it was helpful. Nice thing about a recording is you can fast forward through the parts where other people are writing. So have a great day, and I'll see you again soon, I hope.